All right, fresh new recording. Well done. But happy to kind of introduce you as our head of product over here. Gave them a little bit of a teaser as to what's to come, but I will tee it off to you to get right into all the exciting stuff that you have for us.
All right. Thanks, Leaf. I'm Diogo, the head of product, and what we have in store today is to chat a bit about how to unlock seller productivity using AI with Amplemarket. So let me just get to my presentation to share. So let's get started. Everyone can see my slides, right? We're good to go. All right. So quick agenda for today's presentation. I'll cover a bit about why AI is so important right now, what's been happening, and what's the impact that has into the B2B sales space. And then we'll dive into a number of ways in which Amplemarket AI can help unlock productivity for sales reps. We'll talk about prospecting, we'll talk about copywriting and sales engagements. We'll talk about workflows, and we'll also lift the veil a bit on upcoming new products that we have in coming very soon to the Amplemarket platform. And then we'll reserve some time at the end for Q&A. So why is everybody talking so much about AI? Some of you guys might have been playing already with ChatGPT and other tools like that, or at least hearing a lot about it over the past year. But what has happened and why does this matter, and does it really matter for B2B sales? That's the first topic I want to discuss a bit today. So to give you a bit of context, what happened, our view of what happened over the past 6 months to 12 months is that the timeline for AI development has drastically accelerated in a way that was not really expected. What we had over 10 years ago that we've been using a lot in tech throughout the industry in different spaces were very performant, small machine learning models that were very fit for very specific tasks. These models could not do other things besides that which they were trained to do. And you have your typical examples of training a model to detect if a picture has a dog or if it has a cat, and it will be very good at doing that. But if you cannot ask it a different question about a different animal. These models have been deployed mostly for classification purposes, for being able to take inputs and produce classifications. And they've been very successful at that. So there's been an explosion of these small models with a very specific narrow focus. Now, what happened in 2015 was that Google's research team published a paper that would turn out to be very influential, that unlocked a breakthrough in terms of how we can scale the training of larger and larger high-quality machine learning models dedicated to language. And this started a trend that has accelerated drastically over the past 2 years with the advent of generative AI. Generative AI, and in particular GPT models, the GPT-3, the GPT-4 that surfaced earlier this year as well, simply accelerated the level of performance of these large language models that have been trained on a large corpus of data and that are able to actually generalize really well. And they're able to really process language at a level that is beating the typical tests and benchmarks that existed before, and it's even showing better average performance than human level performance. And what's been happening now, what's been happening in the past 6 months, is that the platform layer for this type of technology, the infrastructure, be that OpenAI, be that Anthropic, and other platforms, has been consolidating. This means that this type of core models are being easier to use and more accessible. And that factor, put together with specific domains and specific verticals where companies having the right data can leverage these capabilities to produce really the killer apps, the really high quality experiences that are completely game changing versus what the workflows and the ways of working were before with tech just a year ago. And this is where we're at. A number of industries here will be disrupted by this, and sales is no exception. It actually has some natural properties. If you think about healthcare or fintech, those are areas that might have a higher barrier to some disruption here, where there might need more control and safeguards. In sales, this is actually more permeable to this type of innovation around language. So this is why this is so important right now. And to give you some context about how industry analysts are looking at the application of this to sales, I like to bring the perspective from the team of analysts at Gartner that is looking specifically at how generative AI is impacting B2B sales. And their take is actually that if you look at the typical activities a sales rep, be that an account executive, an SDR, is doing on their day-to-day today versus where the role is going, and versus how some of these activities, non-selling activities, admin activities, support activities, might be more and more reduced and further automated with generative AI. In the same way that they've been being automated with hyper-automation, with the more classical AI approaches, but this will accelerate further, and this will free up bandwidth for other activities that we don't even have clarity yet on what these would be. But we can only look at this as a trend that will help us figure out how to better position and how to better leverage this extra bandwidth to generate more deals. So this is the landscape. This is the context for thinking about AI right now and the impact into B2B sales. Another takeaway from the same analysts shows that over a third of CROs within 1 to 2 year period will start thinking about actually staffing generative AI ops as a specific team within their GTM organization. So these are just a few nuggets of insights about what's been happening and how it impacts the B2B space and why it's relevant for B2B sales. Great. So let's start talking a bit about how can these technologies actually be put to use to actually unlock this set productivity in B2B sales. And I'd like to first start with a use case that might not be the most obvious one within the lead generation area of B2B sales. How do you find the right leads to engage? How do you prioritize them? How do you define your target audience? How do you do this in a way that it's repeatable and that's efficient? And Amplemarket, from the get-go, we've been data native platform. We have an array of data sources. We constantly update our data on companies, contacts, and profiles. And we provide the capabilities for you to specify your customer profile and for finding the right data points that will help you get to the right leads. And yet, this simple activity of defining a customer profile, defining a set of conditions to target, at times it brings repetitiveness and it brings like small friction points. Like, for example, if you want to target a number of people working in the sales space, and you have sales managers and you have BDRs and SDRs and executive sales reps, enterprise sales reps. You have all these different terminology for different job titles. And this was something we realized that often was creating friction in having to always specify an array of different similar job titles. So one thing we've been thinking about, and it's a very interesting case of application of AI because it happens in the background, has been how might we save time here by actually having more generic way of saying, I just want to talk with people that work in sales, or I just want to talk with people that work in RevOps, for example. Instead of specifying job titles, just specifying departments and job functions. But to achieve this, what we had to actually build was a machine learning model that is classifying job titles and saying, every time we refresh a profile, every time someone changes jobs, every time we have that data about, hey, here's this person, okay, let's running through that model to classify what department does that job title belong to, based on all the job titles we've seen in the past and their associated labeled departments and job functions. So this is a very interesting case, I'd say, because this happens all in the background, and then the experience for the BDR, SDR doing the prospecting is that, oh, I have a simpler experience and I just tick a few boxes and I get all these leads that match to those criteria without having to specify so much of the details. And this is just one example. Another example is classifying companies between, is this a B2B company or a B2C company? And we took the same approach where AI is being run on all the companies based on an initial data set and is able to make that classification with a high degree of accuracy. When you scale this approach to the maintenance of all our contact database and companies database, what we're able to do is we're continuously extending it, not just with the freshest information available on the individuals, on the demographics, on the firmographics, etc., but also extending it with other ways of slicing and dicing and defining target audiences, which in the end will simplify and streamline the prospecting job, essentially. Having said that, I'd like to tell you about a different use case, still within the space of prospecting, but now related with something a little more perhaps sophisticated around buying intent. We've recently launched our buying intent signals product. And Amplemarket's buying intent signals uses AI to track your competitor's digital footprint. And this lets you identify the exact people that are engaging with your competitors. So let me tell you a bit more about what that means. Other buying intent solutions that are very popular and have been around for some time typically rely on keyword searches. And intent providers that use keyword searches, this produces a signal that is not super actionable at times. with Amplemarket's buying intent signals, what we're doing is we're actually looking at the competitor's digital footprint. And in real time, we're deriving insights from their engagements with leads. And what that means is that you get reliable, verifiable, and actionable contact level data. You get the actual leads that are engaging with the sales reps, with the company posts of your competitors. This is game changing because with the typical buying intent solutions that you see in the market, you would only get account level data, and it would be somewhat vague and generic. It's hard to verify how can I actually audit if that keyword search actually took place. And because of that, it makes it a little not as reliable. And because it's at an account level, who do you know who to talk to at that account? Did really someone relevant look into a competitive solution or made a keyword search? How can you assess that? With our approach, because we're analyzing the digital footprint of the competitors, you can actually understand that this person interacted with the sales rep at that company. And you can actually see that signal. You can see if they've connected on LinkedIn, for example. You can see if these persons have been liking the posts or the attending webinars even of those competitors. So that makes it verifiable. That makes it actionable. That means you can rely on this. This intent data, this is using AI to help you really prioritize the highest intent prospects, and this will help you shorten your sales cycle. You can also use this product and these capabilities to actually get visibility over the strategy of your competitors. How are they going to market? Who are they spending their time doing their outreach efforts on? And finally, another interesting use case is, what if your competitors are actually targeting your existing accounts? Knowing that helps you tackle any early attempt of anticipating a renewal or of exploring churn within your customer base, and helps you safeguard and ensure your business security going forward. So lots of different ways in which AI in this space can help you with a different novel approach by looking at the digital footprint and weighting that to understand where there is actually a signal of activity that's worth looking into. And if you'd like to learn more about this product in particular, I would recommend checking the case study on our Amplemarket's webpage, where Vanta describes the value they got from our buying intent signals data, and where you can get a bit more context about their impressions. All right, so we've covered now how lead generation can be impacted in a more invisible way and in a more very direct way by AI capabilities. Next, I would like to talk about a product we launched earlier this year, which we named AI Copywriter, and where we are leveraging generative AI to power outreach. And the problem here we're helping to solve is the writer's block of cold messaging. It's the time it also takes for you to, considering the lead that you really want to get a very personalized outreach for, the time it takes to research the lead, to find the relevant signal, to find the hook, and then to actually write a message where you can weave the value proposition, go for a compelling CTA. This is something that often takes upwards of 15 minutes per lead from our research. And what we realized is with generative AI, and with the right data points that our Amplemarket's contact database provides, we are able to produce messages in seconds that have a really high level of personalization. So essentially, this gives you the impact of like really hyper-personalized copy with one click. You're able to leverage tailor-made hooks. You're able to have your value propositions weaved into the messaging in a natural way. And you can even customize the tone of voice and the message length. Fun fact, if you want to, you can even use the tone of voice to have it do your outreach in multiple languages as well, or funny accents, or whatever might be relevant for a particular lead or for a particular approach you might have in mind. The way we went about shaping this product was very interesting, because this is technology that is very recent, generative AI, and it poses not only technological questions about how does it actually work from an engineering point of view, but it also brings interesting design challenges about what's the right way to design an interface for this type of product. And we think that we were able to actually optimize both the user interface and how much data and the context we provide with the data to the generative AI to produce the best message and the best experience for the sales rep possible. The way we did that was by, first of all, embedding the experience in your LinkedIn browsing experience with our Chrome extension. So as you're visiting a profile, you can, with one click, generate a message. And then giving you the control to try different messages, to play and experiment a bit with this new type of technology to see if you get a different type of message that works better or that has a different turn of phrase. And one thing that was super important to us was to keep the human in the loop, to keep the sales rep in the loop, to be able to review, to copy the message, but then adjust it. So this is an experience where you're able to review that. And you also have access to some explainability, like why was this message produced? What were the sources? What was the news post? What was the funding round? What was the post that this particular lead engaged with on LinkedIn? Or what connection is there in common that is being used as a reference within the copy? Why is the copy the way it is? Giving that context helps also the sales rep better assess if the message makes sense. Work better. And then there was a number of things in terms of the format. Sales emails, and having seen and advised on the good anatomy of a sales email over time, and collecting a lot of examples to synthesize the best instructions to get to catchy openers, value propositions that are weaved around information about the prospect, and call to actions that are compelling, and also subject lines that are to the point. So these were a number of things that we took in consideration as we built this, and that I wanted to share. Just pausing for a second. Kevin, just checking the question. So Kevin asked if the AI can write good copy in German. It can. Leif will give you a bit more context. I can tell you that I've lived in Germany for over 4 years, and I cannot write as good copy in German. just as a joke. But if you instruct it in that direction through the tone of voice configuration, it will be able to produce it. We're still running some tests in terms of bringing that configuration outside of the tone of voice as well. All right. So, any other questions? If not, all right, no worries.
We have a couple popping in here. Let's see if we can get them really quick. One just from Kevin about number of companies in the DACH region. So I don't know exactly, but I know we have at least I think there might only be a couple dozen, but a lot of our customers have remote employees that are also in that region. So it's impossible to say specifically what number, but we have a good amount of people in that region, I guess is the most vague but specific answer I could say.
Thanks, Leaf. All right, so moving on, about the AI copywriter, I would like to invite a very special guest to also share his experience and his teams, Alejandro from Momentum, who's been using it for some time now. Very happy to have you with us, Alejandro.
Hi team, hi Diogo, hi Lee. How's it going? Thanks very much for the introduction and the ability to participate here with you guys.
Thank you. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Cool. So I wanted to share our experience so far with the AI copywriter. So before using it, we knew that personalized emails are much more likely to get a response, an open, and even more a meeting. However, we also know the amount of, as you mentioned before, Diogo, the amount of time that it requires to actually write a good manual email. Not only on the I think you mentioned like the writers end, but also in researching not only about the prospect that you're trying to target, but also regarding the company or what's happening on their environment, what are the roles needs. So we were basing most of our sequences with automated emails. So that was our like pure force of a strength. So the way we got introduced into the copywriter, actually, we at Momentum also work with AI, and we've been creating a really good partnership with you. And both our CEOs were talking, and that's when they introduced the copywriter. When Mike introduced the copywriter to Santi, and we say, hey, we want to test it out. And since the beta in February, we've been using it and haven't stopped since. And actually, that changed a lot of our process. Basically, right now we are working with more and more. The first outreach for our sequences, it's more likely to be a manual email because we are getting the assistance of the copywriter when creating that first email. And the way we are also trying to make the most out of this is using what you showed before, where you can set not only the sentiment, but what it is basing the copywriter, like for example, on a post or something about the company. So we are trying to find lots of like similar leads, like that are related on tiny things. So sometimes we can even use one copywriter message for a couple of people. So we're creating that kind of micro sequences that are allowing us to get more attention from those prospects. And not only on the first touch for those sequences, but we've been also using it a lot for follow-ups. Even though it's not it could be follow-ups for people that haven't even responded to us yet, but especially for people that have interacted with us, we can create a really cool and catchy follow-up so we can get their attention back again. So that's how we're using it right now. And the results have been, for example, we've improved a lot our sequence writing, as we mentioned, both on the follow-up cadence, on link getting messages, or in the first touch. We are handling and managing better our sequences, grouping the prospects related in a much more sophisticated way. And it's also helping us ideate new ways to sequence the leads, either based on news of their company, what are they reacting to, trying to get more attention from them. So those are really good engagement points that we're trying to get at. And if we try to measure those into some metrics, for example, we say that between 30 minutes and an hour, it's been saved per day for each of our SDRs because of the assistance of the copywriter on writing those messages. And we've also found that both the open rate and response rate have been increased in around 2 and 3%. It's actually a bit complex for us to measure because since we started using the copywriter, we've also increased a lot our outreach volume. So we got it a bit down, but because we're sending a lot more. And in terms of meetings, we have at least a 20% increase from 40 to 50, 60 a month. So that's a huge increase. And the copywriter has been part of it, helping our SDRs to create the messages.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Alejandro. Really, really happy to hear about the impact that it has had. Building on top of what you said, one thing that I think is also quite interesting, as you mentioned, you're already starting to build sequences that start with the copywriter. So one thing that I also wanted to touch today is something that's coming soon, that we've been working on, that I think you already had a hint as well about from João on our team, which is the ability to actually bring that experience as a core part of the product, of having a first touch of the sequence as an AI copywriter step, and then reviewing it in the manual email with the email already generated. So a few more seconds saved per lead coming soon. I think we'll make sure that to have your heads up when this comes out to test it.
That's great.
All right, thanks so much. Moving to the more areas where we can leverage AI in the product. So we've talked about the prospecting aspect, the intent, the AI copywriter for writing the first messages and really leveraging hyper personalization. I'd like to now discuss a bit about workflows. What happens after those first messages? How do you manage the replies, the workflow of the sales rep, handling objections and handling a number of leads to prioritize and to focus next. So what Amplemarket has had as part of our offering for a time is the ability to have AI-powered workflows. So this is composed of two parts. On one hand, every reply that we get to a sequence will be run through a machine learning to get a classification. Is this a positive reply? Is this a negative reply? Is this actually a hard no? And maybe we need to look into those to make sure that we unsubscribe them. Or is this someone that's really interested, and we should make sure that those leads are the ones that get the most attention from the sales reps, so that we can get as quickly to the next stage, to the demo, to make sure that those leads don't get delayed in the pipeline. So we have that on one hand, that classification element leveraging AI, and then we have the ability to automate these flows and say, always handle this in a certain way. So always get the hard no's into the exclusion list so they're not contacted again. Always get people who are out of office, always pause the sequence for those people who want to get circled back later. Okay, let's trigger a sequence to be sent later. And the ones that are really interested, how can we nudge the team to like always go after those first? So this is something that can help streamline your sales workflow, that can help ensure that there are no forgotten tasks, that you don't leave hot leads waiting, and that the circle backs are also something that's natural and not dependent on the SDR's own memory and things like that. And this helps you raise the bar for your whole team to operate in a very consistent manner in terms of this type of follow-ups, and to ensure that the most priority leads are always handled first. And this is something that as I mentioned, that has been a part of our platform. But now I would like to also preview a new product that is also coming up, powered by AI, that takes this type of workflow streamlining to the next level. And I would like to talk to you about what we're calling the AI replier. The AI replier is your sales assistant, AI sales assistant that helps you schedule meetings, that helps you diffuse objections, that helps you move replies forward. In the same way that the AI copywriter simplifies your first message, your first touch outreach, the AI replier simplifies handling the first response. So how does this work? The way it works is we will create a draft using generative AI directly in the inbox of the sales reps for every reply to a sequence. So we'll take the context of the thread of the sequence, and we'll take the context of the seller, and then we'll also infuse information here that will help write a great reply that is concise, that addresses objections, that ensures that the conversation moves forward, and we try to move to the next step. So let me show you a bit more about how can we bring more context and more consistency and information to the objection handling that the AI replier can do. The AI replier will have instructions that can be customized, that will help guide how it answers certain type of queries, that will help answer what about a customer that's asking, a prospect that's asking about pricing, or that's asking about a specific capability, that's asking about a specific competitor and how you differentiate. All of that can be set up upfront and customized and adapted And what this means is, think about the training time of a new SDR. Think about the consistency in terms of objection handling across the sales team. This can help raise the bar there and make sure everyone is playing at the same level. But besides the ability to end these instructions, what we'll also build with AI Replier is the ability to build these instructions from day one based on past emails, based on what the most experienced reps are already, how they're already writing and handling objections, to bring that information into the instructions that are powering this new product. Imagine if 70% of all the replies that need to be handled and followed up with would be accelerated by this tool. Imagine if half of the replies that the sales reps need to send to prospects they've engaged with are ready to send with one click. That's the level of productivity boost that this tool can bring at this stage. It can also speed up the onboarding of new reps and ensure that the time to react to these leads is minimized. So no leads slipping through the cracks, no uncertainty about what's the level of quality of the objection handling across the team. Everybody is being uplifted by this tool that is bringing the best copy, the best content to the replies as they're handling it. From early access, what we're hearing from early testers is reductions on the order of 1 hour to 90 minutes a day turned into 10 to 20 minutes just handling replies. So just wanted to pause there and maybe ask Alejandro again. He's still with us. I believe Momentum is also trialing.
I'll bring him back in.
Sorry, Leaf.
Oh. All right, should be back in here if you want to ask him any questions about it.
Here I am.
Hi, Alejandro. Just curious about how you guys have been finding the AI replier that I believe you're also trialing.
Yes, so one of the coolest things here, at least for us, is the capability to, it's like working proactively for the battle cards when new or even like more senior SDRs receive questions about specific, maybe new products, new competitors. It's much more easier to have a centralized answer for all of those without losing time trying to get the answers from the rest of the team or trying to manage what's the best way to answer to them. So it's I think it works really well on two ends. First, on getting the responses really fast, but also on the sales enablement side to have a quicker training curve for new sales team members for the company.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Loving the buying intent signals, by the way, also.
Great to hear. All right. So trying to leave some time still for Q&A if someone wants to raise questions, and bringing the presentation to a conclusion. So I wanted to say, as a quick recap, the 4 ways to unlock B2B seller productivity by doing prospecting with rich data that's being continuously updated and improved through AI. Leveraging buying intent signals and AI-powered products that can really give you reliable, actionable, auditable intent hunted leads. The generative AI, our AI copywriter, messaging with one click that's hyper personalized, that can really streamline the workflow of your reps and save them time. And the AI powered workflows that help you triage the replies, and that will be even further improved with this new product, the AI replier that will be launching soon as well. And as a final thought, to summarize where the industry is also heading, I wanted to share this quote from the Gartner webinar I referenced, where there was also discussion about how different tech vendors are positioning in the sales space around using AI, and essentially there is a set of startups that are really looking at these capabilities not as an add-on, but as something that it's being brought to be a generative piece at the core of the product with this new generative AI capabilities. And Amplemarket was mentioned amongst that group. So just wanted to share that thought as the closing note. And one last thing, if you're already a customer and you're eager to play with the AI copywriter, we are rolling out a trial experience within the product. We've just started rolling it out, so be on the watch out. Users will be soon able to initiate the trial on their own. If you're not a customer yet, and this is something that you're interested in learning more about, please book a demo. I think Arjun can perhaps share the link in the chat for our demos. And from my side, I think that is it. Happy to discuss any questions that you guys might have.
We have a couple questions here. So first one is, what is the process of setting up the buyer intent feature once we become a customer? So it's a really easy setup process, one that kind of ends up being a lot more on our team. But it's really all we need from you is who are the competitors that you want us to track, and then also who's kind of your persona that you want us to deliver you leads for. That way, because a lot of this is based on activity of their sales team, we want to filter out their personal connections or their interactions with people who aren't of a title that you're looking for. So really those two things are what you share with us. Usually takes us about 2 to 5 days to set everything up and get everything tracked, built out, and then the leads start flowing in. But it is also a living, breathing setup, so we can make tweaks, add more filters, change competitors, you name it. Feel free to get creative with it too, and we can see if it's something we can do. So that should give you some context of the setup. And then, Diogo, this could be a good question for you. Will the AI sequence copywriter be included with current licenses or an additional charge? And same question for the replier. So what's the packaging, I guess, for it? And I can some of the costs, but.
So the AI sequence copywriter will be available for users that have AI copywriter seats and also the engagement seat, the combination of the two, without an additional charge. And we're still looking into the pricing for the AI replier, but it will be an additional product.
And if anybody has any other questions, feel free to go into the Q&A. If you want, you can also raise your hand and I can have you come off mute or give you permission to talk so you can ask it. But we definitely have a couple of minutes now where we're saving it for questions from you guys. So fire away, whatever you want. Don't know if we have any yet. So we'll see if any come in, but No questions means, Diogo, you answered everything perfectly. So we have no notes for you. I think
Hope
that's a
so.
problem.
Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Alejandro for participating as well.
Ooh, we have a couple questions.
We have a couple of questions.
Yeah, Diogo, I'll let you take the first one from Kemuel around account-based marketing or ABM motions.
Yes, great one. We're currently working on a new account page that will help you get a bit more information and easy to digest usability for, like, if I'm targeting this account and I want to look at it, what are the key decision makers, how much activity has happened for this account, what job postings and what news events for that account are also recently there. So that's something we've been working on, and we're actually about to launch that. I would say within the month, possibly.
Awesome. And then Gabe, we have your question about running a trial of products that you don't have or getting a hands-on demo. So definitely can always do demos of anything you want. So feel free to reach out to someone on the customer success team or someone on the sales team you work with. They're happy to give you kind of a walkthrough of something. Running a trial, we try to offer a trial for as many products as we can. So for example, like the copywriter is one that we're always happy to let you test out for a little bit. Some of them are a little harder to run a trial for. Like for example, our job change alerts, right? Requires us to do a lot of setup, then start tracking people. And then you're not really going to get any value for it until people start changing jobs, which could take a couple of weeks for you to get some of those people. So some of them, just based on the function, they're a little harder to trial, but we do everything in our power to give you a good idea, understanding of the tool. And if it's not something you're quite ready for, just talk to us and we'll make something work for you. And then we have one.
Oh,
go for it.
So I can tackle the question from Marlena. In this first version, the auto replies will only be working in conjunction with the sequencing, but this is something we're also looking into for the future, if it might also work for other types of replies. Right now, it's based on replies to a sequence that was triggered through Amplemarket in this initial version.
And then we have use SalesLoft. Is there an integration? So no, we do not have an integration with SalesLoft, mostly because in a way, even though it's only half of our platform, they are kind of a competitor to us. So, the same way that SalesLoft doesn't want to build an integration to Amplemarket to make it easier for people to pull stuff out of there, you might not see us build an integration for it. That being said, I will tell you, I do have a number of customers who will use other types of sequencing tools. And they'll use us just for the data side. And typically what they'll use is a CRM as a nice in-between for them. So you'll use a CRM as like a hub, and then you'll have Amplemarket be your data spoke and another tool be your sequencing spoke, but everything has one source of truth. So that's typically what I would recommend rather than having the kind of end-to-end point integration, skipping a CRM.
And the best solution is using Amplemarket for everything.
We are a bit biased, but I have to agree. All right. Well, I think we are officially at time. We'll see if any questions come in, but I think we are kind of wrapping up here. So as a follow-up, yes, here's Diogo's contact information. Feel free to reach out to him, or more importantly, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to a member of the success team or salesperson, as well as support@amplemarket.com. We will be sending out a copy of this recording to everyone. And Diogo, do we have a copy of this presentation as well that we can include in that? Awesome.
Yes.
So a copy of this, as well as the recording, will be sent out, and appreciate everybody joining. And Diogo, thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for the questions and for joining.
Take care, guys.